Welcome to the Lexion Lunch and Earn. I'm Ken Anderson. If you're joining us for the first time, you may recognize me from my time on the Brownfield Radio Network, where I discussed agricultural innovations with the industry's leading experts. One of the top 5 ag equipment manufacturers in the world is CLAAS. And with growers in the thick of the harvest season, they're here to deliver expertise to help you make the most of this season. Today we'll be taking an in-depth dive into the agricultural supply chain and how CLAAS is setting measures in place to combat the disruption. Eric Raby, the new Senior Vice President of the Americas region, will join us to discuss the challenges ahead for growers amid the rise in ag equipment purchases. We'll also welcome Jeff Tilden, Vice President of Parts for CLAAS in Columbus, Indiana, as he shares his insights as to how farmers can address some of those growing concerns. Plus, we'll check with our man behind the wheel and always in the field, Jeff Gray, CLAAS Product Supervisor for the Central Region, as he provides some Lexion Combine results from the recent Farm Progress Show in Decatur, Illinois. Lexion Lunch and Earn is all about helping you, so if you have a question at any point, just ask it in the comments section and our team will answer throughout the program. Plus, one lucky winner will win a CLAAS Lexion 8800 Combine Scale Model. It's a limited edition and it's a 1/32 scale, and all you need to know is some Lexion Combine trivia. Keep watching and get ready for your chance to win. With that being said, I'm here with Eric Raby. Eric, welcome back. I'm excited to visit with you again and get an update on the pulse of the industry since our last conversation.
Thank you. Glad to be here, Ken.
Now, last time you were here, your title was President and General Manager of CLAAS North America. And just this month, you've been promoted to Senior Vice President of CLAAS America's region. So congratulations on that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Big shoes to fill. A lot of new geography, but very much looking forward to it.
So talk about what led you to assuming this position and how your responsibilities have changed.
Sure. When I joined CLAAS, as you said, as President and General Manager for North America, really looking after the commercial aspects of the business. So things like sales, marketing, parts, service, all those customer and dealer facing operations within CLAAS of America. And I think it really gave me the opportunity when the position for Americas became available to really step in there, not necessarily to take everything that we do in North America to South America, but really look for optimization, if you will, of both of the operations. So while they do have some differences, obviously one's north of the equator and the other south, common crops, common farming practices. So hopefully we'll be able to learn from each other.
Well, we're looking forward to the future of CLAAS with you leading the Americas region.
Thank you.
So right now we're in the heat of the harvest season, and this year we've seen some disruptions in the supply chain due in large part to the pandemic. That's posed a big challenge to growers, not only in delivery of new equipment purchases, but also parts availability. So what's CLAAS done to prepare for this?
Well, you're absolutely right, and one of the things that we've seen throughout the pandemic is a very robust agricultural economy in virtually all the aspects. If we take a look at the Association of Equipment Manufacturers' latest forecast, right now we're looking at both tractors and combines in the U.S. and Canada being up almost 15% over a year ago. So while we had a very good year in 2020, 2021 also looks like it's going to be an even stronger year. The other thing to take a look at as well is farmers' demand, obviously reflected in those numbers, but also demand to keep growing their operations. And right now is kind of a really good situation with commodity prices still a little bit in flux, but overall, if we look at where they were earlier this year or even a year ago, very good position. And right now it's forecasted that farm income is going to be at its highest level all the way back to 2013. So a lot of really good dynamics in the agricultural industry. The unfortunate part is that because of the pandemic and the global nature in which we source components or we use logistics or things like that, that is being impactful in that we are seeing some delays in certain deliveries. So we have to work our way through that. One of the ways that we do that is really talking as much as we can with not only the farmers, but also talking with our dealers and finding out what are the challenges, what are the opportunities, and what can we do in the current environment to smooth things out a little bit and be transparent and make sure that everybody understands whether it's good news or bad news. What is the situation so we can address it together?
Yeah, expand on that a bit. What is CLAAS doing to deliver greater value during a time like that?
Well, as an example, we always looked at production on a very long basis, if you will, at least a year ahead, trying to plan what our requirements were for things like rubber or steel or chips. You hear a lot in the news about electronic circuitry and chips and things like that. So normally we were looking at least at a 12-month basis. Now we've at least added another 50 to 100% of time onto that in order not only to accommodate for some of those long lead time items, but to really understand, are there other things that we can do in concert with the growers and with the dealers to maybe stretch out, if you will, a trade one more season or half a season to really, again, work within the confines that we're all facing, but do it in a transparent and a way that we're all being communicated with and everyone knows exactly where they stand.
So as we weather these supply chain challenges, I'm sure that maintaining the efficiency and timeliness of combine production is one of your top priorities.
It is. And like I said before, right now is we've been very fortunate through the pandemic and also through the supply chain issues that we've had no interruption in our production on combine harvesters here in Omaha. So again, I think it's a combination of being very fortunate, but also some good planning as well. And we continue to have a very strong order board. We continue to have production that exceeds what we've had in previous years. And one thing that we did do, and we talked about communication and transparency, is in order to have an understanding of what the demand is, we did open our early order writing program even earlier this year to get a little bit of a head start on knowing what the demand is out there. So that's just one of the things that, even though the pandemic was a bit of a cloud, that silver lining was our ability to plan a little farther in advance than we had before. And we'll probably continue, even when all the dust settles, we'll continue that on because it gives us better visibility of our operations on production.
Well, as you said, Eric, CLAAS is continuing to focus on uptime in the field, and part of that is getting parts for your operation. We have Jeff Tilden on the line with us. Jeff is the Vice President of Parts for CLAAS of America. Jeff, thanks for taking the time to speak with us today.
Well, good morning. Thank you very much.
Can you tell our viewers a bit about your background and how you came to work for CLAAS?
Yeah, I've been in the I guess the after sales world, with the parts world, some of the service side, and the machinery business for greater than 25 years now. Probably 20 of those years I was with one of the other large ag manufacturers in various roles of parts for their marketing, sales, logistics, and then some global planning and some different activities there. But then about 4 years ago, I decided it was an opportunity to come work with CLAAS in their North American operations to deliver parts to customers all over the U.S. and Canada. So that's been my journey that got me here to the CLAAS world.
Well, as Eric and I were discussing, there's been a lot of disruption within the supply chain. So what options do farmers have to navigate obtaining the parts that they need?
Yeah, you are correct. There has been a year, well, almost 2 years now, various degrees of disruption. So there's a couple great options that we offer farmers to be able to navigate that. And one is a program we call On Your Farm. And the goal of that is to have the common items that you normally would use, say your filters, belts, if you're talking a sickle section on a cutter head, or items like that, something that's on your farm readily available, so you don't have a question of supply chain disruption. It's just how quick can you get to your shed where those are stored. And that's a great option that we partner with our dealers to offer to customers. And it also shrinks the distance between the customers and the dealerships that serve them. So it's a really good way to help guarantee minimal downtime and make that supply chain issue less of an issue, which this last year, that's been very important. The second program we offer is a CLAAS annual inspection program that we're working with our dealers in partnership and targeting the self-propelled machines, specifically the combines and the forage harvesters, is during the off season is getting those machines into a dealership where they can be inspected. And there's a lot of benefit. One is you get that inspected, you know the status of your machine. Working with the dealer, you can decide what needs to be replaced, and more importantly, when it needs to be replaced, not in the middle of the season where the supply chain could potentially get you in a difficult situation, but get that done outside the season. And a lot of people just think, well, it's just a parts question, but it's also a labor question, because in the middle of the season, everybody does have problems, and the rest of the world is not just full of technicians, and there's a limited number of those. So if we can get that done in the off season and minimize the chance you have a breakdown, it works out best for everybody, whether it's the customer, the dealer. It's a win for all, and we offer a bit of a discount in conjunction with working with our dealers also to facilitate that. And many of our dealers have some modified versions of the program where they'll offer perhaps incentives on some free trucking or different varieties of how each dealer decides to build value into that program.
Well, those are definitely going to be beneficial tools for growers moving forward. Maintaining the parts that farmers currently have is also going to play a critical role in minimizing the impact of those supply chain shortages. Quality machine care can help growers go longer without needing replacements. So how is CLAAS helping operators keep their combine at peak performance?
Well, one of the ways I mentioned is offering the CLAAS inspection service, but we've also offered here recently, opened a web portal called CLAAS Connect, which ties a customer with more information about their machines, direct access to operator's manual, parts catalogs, that a customer can access, and general information about their machine in a digital format. So they no longer have to rely on books and papers laying around, and that they're having a conversation with the dealer about what parts to order. They both can be looking at the same drawings at the same time to avoid confusion, to make it a lot easier. Those are a couple ways that we can help customers keep a machine up and running and get information back and forth between them and their dealerships in a very seamless fashion.
Jeff, thanks again for sharing your expertise with our audience. It's great to see that CLAAS has so many resources available to ensure operation stability.
Well, thank you very much, Ken. It was good speaking with you.
Ken, one thing I did want to draw attention to a little bit more was something that Jeff mentioned about the annual inspection program. Obviously, we talked about On Your Farm Parts, and we talked about some other programs, but the annual inspection program is just one way that we, working with our dealers in concert, are able to really stay connected and transparent to the customer, and not only looking at the status of their machine, but being able to look at how do we keep that machine up and running. And it's just another way that I think we at CLAAS do a really good job of staying connected to the customer. It's really taking that relationship from being transactional, and that is you purchased a machine, we'll deliver it, to being relationship based. The most important part of an ownership experience happens after delivery. And that's one of the things, whether it's the annual inspection program or some of the other programs and processes that we have with our dealers, really do help try to set us apart with customers in the field, because it all comes down to, again, how do we save time, how do we make money, and what is our part of that relationship in doing that. So I just wanted to make sure that we reiterate that part of it.
Exactly, and for me, it's that commitment to customers is what sets CLAAS apart.
Absolutely.
And speaking of demos, Jeff Gray is with us once again. Jeff is the product supervisor for the Central Region and has been on the road with the CLAAS LEXION, visiting with farmers and addressing their needs. But before we talk to Jeff, let's get set for our giveaway. Look for the question posted by CLAAS in the comments, and the first person to answer correctly will be our winner. Well, Jeff, welcome back to Lexion Lunch and Earn.
Hi, Ken. It's great to talk with you again.
Jeff, over the last several months, you've traveled across the country from coast to coast, demoing the Lexion Combine on a wide variety of crops and sharing your expertise with growers. You've had quite the season so far, so what have you been up to since we last spoke?
It has been a busy year for sure, and we've had an incredible opportunity to connect with growers on the Lexion Demo Tour. On top of that, we've also recently participated in the Farm Progress Show down in Decatur, Illinois, where we were able to showcase the Lexion Combine against other combine manufacturers, and the machine speaks for itself, that's for sure.
Yeah, the Farm Progress Show is known for bringing together the best of the best in ag equipment, and there were several manufacturers there this year. So how did the Lexion Combine perform against those competitors?
It performed very well as usual. So yeah, the Farm Progress is known for bringing together the best in the ag equipment world. So at CLAAS, we really pride ourselves on our innovation and performance. So we were always excited about new opportunities to put our machines to the test, because what matters most is how it performs for farmers. If we look at just a quick snapshot of how we performed there at the farm show, we showcased a Lexion 8600 with TerraTrack, so an 8600 TT with a 1230 chopping corn head. And the 8600 had 48% less grain loss than John Deere and 42% less grain loss than Case IH, and had even greater performance over the other brands.
Those are really incredible numbers, Jeff. With those results, CLAAS can really make a difference. How does the grain loss translate to a grower's bottom line?
Well, grain loss equates to dollars lost, so improved grain retention allows growers to pocket more revenue at the end of the year. The Lexion 8600 had the lowest rate of dollars lost per acre when compared to all of the rest of the combines that were on site for demonstration this year.
Well, those differences in dollars add up quickly. So knowing all of this, what do you think is the biggest takeaway from your experience at the Farm Progress Show?
Well, Ken, as you know, at CLAAS, we pride ourselves on being able to perform at our best in all types of conditions. In ideal conditions, when the weather and crops are perfect for harvesting, most combines can do a pretty good job. It's when they aren't that our combines really stand out. For example, last year at the Farm Progress Show, we were dealing with some pretty adverse conditions due to the derecho that hit central Iowa and other parts of the Midwest. Lots of down corn we had to harvest. This year, conditions were better, but not perfect. But there are some things that the operator can do in advance of tackling that field that they're getting ready to enter into, to make sure that they get the combine fully optimized to do the best job it possibly can. I know one of the first things that I typically do is I just walk out in the field and I just manually just grab some ears and take a look at them and just manually measure them to see what the diameter of the cobs are. How easy is it to hand shell? If the kernels come off the cob very easy in your hand, it's going to be very easy to thresh. If they're very tough to come off the cob while you're hand shelling, it's going to require a little bit more effort on the combine side. So I want to know all of those different characteristics of the crop before I go in there, because that's going to help me with my starting settings. And even though we've got CMOS automatic on the combine, it's still great to start with some starting settings that you know that are consistent with the crop you're getting ready to get into, and then let the CMOS auto take over and just keep maintain that optimization. But in addition to manually analyzing the conditions of the crop, the next thing I want to do is I usually drop my chopper and enter the field to make sure I'm not leaving any kernels on the cob, because different varieties, different planting dates, it all has an effect on the harvesting performance. So I want to make sure I'm not leaving anything on the cob that's going to wind up going through the chopper and causing more grain loss. So it's always important before we get into the field, as we enter the field, drop the chopper real quick and run 50 to 100 yards and make sure that you're not leaving anything on the cob. That's a great chance for the auger cart operator too, to follow behind and observe and radio back that'll make that job a lot faster.
Jeff, thanks again for joining us today. If you want to see more highlights from the Lexion Combine in the field at Farm Progress, or to catch up on the Lexion Demo Tour, visit CLAASofAmerica.com.
Ken, one thing, while we like to see the results like we saw at the Farm Progress Show, one of the important things is how does it operate in farmers' fields? We want to be able to showcase not only how we performed one day in one field against competitors, and we maintain a very objective way to do that, But really where it makes the most difference or has the most meaning is when we can do demonstrations on a customer's farm with their current machine and our machine in the same conditions with the same operators. And so that's one of the things that we do day in and day out, is really substantiate continually and aggregate all of this data. So when we say our machine has more efficiency, more productivity, it really does save you time and it makes you money. We're not just saying that because it sounds good. We're doing that based upon really validated data that we collect.
And seeing combines side by side in the field helps the grower make the right decision for his or her operation.
Absolutely. And in a lot of cases, in a lot of conditions, the farmer may say, I need a machine that's bigger, I need a machine that's smaller, I want to wait one more year. That's perfectly fine, but we want to take that opportunity, if they don't already know who we are, to get to know them, and so we can get out into the field, and they can get to know us as well, and we can talk about things that we've talked about this morning, which extend beyond just the product and how it performs that day, but talk about things like our maintenance program, our On Your Farm parts program, all of these different facets of what comes along with CLAAS combine ownership, just than what you're going to experience in the field.
Yeah, and for me, it's been astounding to see how CLAAS stands out compared to some of the other manufacturers. And I think the Farm Progress Show truly set the stage for the Lexion and the value it can bring to a farming operation. So thanks for being here with us again today, Eric.
Thank you, Ken. I really appreciate it.
We do have a little scheduling change for November. Lexion Lunch and Earn typically premieres on the last Thursday of each month. And as much as we'd love to be at your table on Thanksgiving, it's time for you to enjoy your families. So mark your calendars and be sure to join us for December 2nd, where we'll cover the future of service and provide more highlights from the Lexion demo tour. If you'd like to catch up on our previous episodes, you can watch them on the CLAAS of America YouTube channel. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.